Hi everyone, I'm Abby Madison, and today we're going to be talking about social media. I am a social media manager here at storEDGE, and so I'm really excited to be talking to you guys today about some of our different platforms you can be on and all kinds of good stuff. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so today we're going to be talking about why you should be social. First of all, everybody knows that social media is really big right now. It's not going away. And it's really good. It's really important that you understand that a lot of your customers are on social media. And we'll talk about that here in a second, just a couple different numbers for you to look at. And then also we're going to talk about the different platforms that you should be on. So there's a lot of them out there. There's all kinds of big stuff. There's Instagram, there's Pinterest, there's all kinds of things. So we're going to talk about just 3 big ones that you should be focused on and why. And then we're also going to talk about how you should be interacting with each one. And there's different communities on the different platforms. So we'll go ahead and we'll talk about that too, and how to set up a page and all of that good stuff. So, and then finally, we're going to talk about the best practices of posting. So we'll give some examples specific to the self-storage industry, and we'll just make sure that that is really well covered for you so you know how to grow and keep your following. So why be social? So 73% of people who are on social media say that they follow businesses to stay updated on upcoming products. So that's really important because, that's really good for your discounts. It's really good for people to follow brands that are constantly coming out with new stuff. And, that doesn't necessarily always apply to self-storage, but you're going to have promotions, you're going to have stuff like that. So that's really important to know. And then 63% follow to show their support for the business. So that's really awesome too. So if you're really big in your community, that's a pretty high number of people just wanting to show support for you. And then 61% follow to engage with the business. So they want to give feedback. They want to talk about, if they've had a good or bad experience. And that's good on both accords. And we'll talk about that a little bit later too. But the most important thing to know is that you're trying to build up your brand trust, because social media shows people a side of your business they don't see on your website, and maybe they don't even see it when they're in the facility and they're taking part in your storage brand. So they like to see a bunch of different things, and they want to see the personable side of you, the side that social media is kind of known for, is it's being social. So we'll cover that more as we go throughout. That'll be sort of a common theme. So just remember, brand trust is really, really important. It's something that's going to a lot of times affect whether or not somebody wants to rent with you, especially in younger generations. So we're going to talk about 3 different platforms today: Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. And these are really big runners on the playing field of social media. Obviously, Facebook's been around for a while. Twitter's a big one too. And then Google+, we're going to talk about this today because that's going to affect your SEO. That's a really big runner also. So let's go ahead and talk about Facebook first. So 88% of businesses will be on Facebook by 2014. So that basically means that everybody expects your business to be on Facebook. That's just sort of a common theme. So basically, if you're not on there, they're looking for you. They're trying to find you. And I know I speak for myself when I say that I have gone on Facebook before to find a business, not necessarily for self-storage, but just a lot of things that if I don't find them on Facebook, I'm not necessarily writing them off my list, but it is nice to see, once again, it builds up my brand trust for that company or that business. So Facebook, we like Facebook because it's visually centered. They have the news feed, and it's really great because if you're posting photos and videos, you're getting take up a lot of that space. So, you can write text and you can do all kinds of good things, but photos and videos, those show up really big on the news feed. And so that's really important to remember. That's an important quality of Facebook. Another really nice thing about Facebook that you won't find with a lot of other platforms is that they have free analytics tools. So after you reach 30 likes on your Facebook, you can start seeing those. And basically anything from your demographic of your followers to how popular every post is, and then how many people it reached. It's really, it's a great tool. And you can also go in there and download Excel files of everything and keep it. So that's a really neat thing. That's a good deal to take advantage of. So let's go ahead and start looking at what Facebook actually looks like and how to get started. So here we have Facebook's official fan page, and they have a lot of likes. We're using them as an example today. So we're going to go ahead and make this into a storage page. So first off, we've made the logo as the profile picture. And the reason why the logo is the profile picture is it goes back to brand trust. So we're building up your brand. We are putting this here because it's going to be next to all of your posts. So you want your logo to be next to every post because basically it's going to be representing you. And so obviously a picture of your facility would be fine here, but it's not going to distinguish you from anybody else. Not as much as your logo would. And then we also have the cover photo here, which is really great for showing your facility off. This is a stock photo, but you could probably go out with your iPhone and take a decent picture of a facility and get this uploaded right away. It's about the right resolution for that, so keep that in mind. And then another thing that we need to make sure that we're doing is that your About section is consistent across all of your channels. So regardless of what social media you decide to be on, you want to make sure your About section has your phone number the same as everywhere else, your name the same, and then your address. So, and then also you get a little space to talk about what you guys do. So make sure that that looks really good and that you're very clear in what you do and not spammy. That's really important. Also, widgets. These are unique to Facebook. And these are just plugins that you can get. They're a little more advanced. Once you start building up your Facebook page, you can look into that. And they're not necessary for having a good Facebook page, but they are useful. If you wanted to have maybe a link out to your website that's a little bigger right there, or all kinds of different things. And there's something to play around with, but they are useful depending on what you want to use them for. Also, likes. This is the amount of people who are going to see your posts in their newsfeed. This is pretty important, and it's not necessarily every single person that likes your page is going to see every single post, but the more engaged your community is, the more likely they are to see it. And then finally, your newsfeed. This is where all your posts are going to be, and the most recent ones are going to be at the top unless you've highlighted them, which usually it's good to highlight something if it's a promotion that you're running for a short amount of time or, you know, anything like that. So this is the Facebook page in a nutshell. So let's talk about Twitter. Twitter's a little different. It's more of a microblog. So basically what that means is there's like not pictures that show up in your newsfeed. It's all text. There's links to pictures that you have to click to open them. So the stuff that's going to take up somebody's newsfeed is it's purely text. It's 117 characters maximum. So to utilize that space, you want to make sure that you're witty and that you're taking advantage of good content there. And a great way to reach your customers is to be on Twitter. There's a lot of younger people that are on Twitter, and it's a great way to promote yourself, to interact with customers, and we'll talk about that as we look at the Twitter, how you interact a little bit more. So here's Twitter's official page, and you'll see that they have a check mark. Facebook had one too, and basically right here is the check mark. And you have to earn that. That's not something that you can ask for, unfortunately. You have to be a pretty big brand or celebrity in order to earn one of these deals. Once again, we have the logo as a profile picture. And going back to just having that right next to every post, that's really important because you are representing a brand and not a person. So you'll want to make sure that's your logo right there. And then again, a photo of your facility in the cover photo area. That will show up on mobile and on the internet. And also, you want to make sure your content is consistent, and the bio is interesting because, Facebook, you have a bigger About section to fill out, whereas Twitter, you get this small amount of space, and it's really important that you utilize that and make sure that that isn't spammy, that it's really good, and you also have a space right beneath that. If you have just a facility that you're representing instead of a bigger brand, you can put, we're located in Kansas City, here's our website, you can put the website there also, so. And then the background, that used to be a little more popular. It's gotten less so just because a lot of the people who get on Twitter are on mobile. So it doesn't show up on the app side of things. And so it's not as important. If you want to spend time on it, I wouldn't blame you. It never hurts to have a little extra happening anywhere. But I wouldn't worry about it too much. Just choose something that, you know, is appropriate with your branding. Maybe just a flat color that matches. So that's the background. And then also your Twitter feed. This is your page, so these are all of your tweets. Things that you have written, things that you have retweeted, anything that someone tweets at you will not show up here. So that's really good because if you have a disgruntled customer who's kind of spamming you or driving you nuts, it's not going to show up on your page. It's going to show up with their followers, but people that follow you aren't going to see it. So that's really good. That's a nice feature of Twitter. Also, followers and following. On this page, you can see this was originally Twitter's that we put pictures over. So they have quite a few followers and not a lot that they're following. So as a brand, you want to make sure that you have at least the same amount of people that you're following and have followers of. So if you have 300 people you're following and 350 followers, that's good. I mean, it's probably better to have more people that are following you as a brand than people that you're following back. But, I mean, it's totally up to you. It's not good in comparison to have 500 people that you're following and 20 people that are following you, if you know what I mean. So here is the Twitter feed. We're going to break this down a little bit. So people retweet and then they post their own stuff. So here's a retweet. And clearly the NFL and Twitter have some kind of partnership going on. So they tweeted at Twitter. Twitter got the alert, and then they said, well, we'll retweet this. This looks good. So NFL saw this tweet. Anybody who follows the NFL saw this tweet, and then anybody who follows Twitter also saw it. So it's kind of a double hitter, which is really great. That's why retweets are so popular. And then when you tweet at someone, that alerts the person that you've tweeted at, but it doesn't show up in to your followers unless you retweet it. So. And then hashtags. Hashtags are really great. They're a good tool of Twitter that reach a lot of people because basically they're set up kind of like links. So if you were to tweet about storage, hashtag storage, and you put that in there and somebody clicked on storage, they'd see every single tweet that ever had hashtag storage in it. And sometimes hashtags are a little bit abused. You want to make sure you're not putting them in every single tweet. They're nice to put in occasionally if they're relevant, but don't abuse them. It's kind of spammy if you abuse them, basically. Okay, so we're doing a little interactive, fun contest during this, having to do with hashtags. So if you tweet at StorageAhead, hashtag SA webinars, you can win a StorageAhead t-shirt, and we'll announce that later. But just keep that in mind. That's kind of a fun little contest we're going to be doing for the rest of the webinar. So anytime during the webinar, if you tweet at us, hashtag webinars, you can be entered to win one of our t-shirts. So that's kind of cool. So let's talk about Google+. This one is kind of a new one. It's a little tricky, so not a lot of people are on it with their personal profiles. So we're going to go into explaining it a little bit more in depth. So basically, it's Google's... it's their solution to social media. So a lot of people have Gmail. If you have Gmail, you can get a Google Plus page really easily. You can set it up. And it's for SEO purposes, if you have a website that you're trying to get better page ranking for, this is a really great tool for you to be on. It reminds me a lot of how Google Maps, it's really good for SEO. Anything that's connected with Google, they're going to reward for being on. So I would keep that in mind. And then also it's a really great way for Google to crawl your pages faster. So if you have a blog or if you have a website and you've added a new page to your website or a new post on your blog and you post it to your G+ page, Google's going to see it a lot faster and they're going to reward you for that. So that's something that's really cool about Google+, and right now it's one of the best platforms out there for increasing your SEO, which is saying a lot about social media. So here is Google's Google+ page. Let's turn it into a social page. So when you get to these pages, you can click on follow. See this red button right here? And they have a lot of followers. So if you clicked on that, then you would get this little pop-up right here, and it says following, and then it also has circles underneath it. And that can be a little confusing, but basically what it means is if you're following somebody, you're seeing public posts from them. If you're adding them to circles, you're kind of categorizing them. So maybe you want your coworkers to see something that you don't need your customers to see, or you want people in the industry to see something that you don't want your customers to see, or you don't think they'd care about. So you would change up who you're posting to. It's a good way to get organized early. I would start doing the circles early because otherwise you're going to get overwhelmed in the future when it blows up. So also there's an about section that's pretty in-depth. You can do a lot with that, so keep that in mind. Same with Facebook, you have a lot more space. Here's their very large cover photo. This is a big one, so keep that in mind when you're uploading a picture for this. It has to be pretty big to look good, otherwise it's going to look pixelized, and that's kind of the unfortunate thing about the Google Plus pages right now is the giant cover photo, but just a word to the wise, use the higher res quality photos for this. And again, keeping your logo in the avatar area right there, profile pic, make sure that's showing up right there because that's really important. Here's your newsfeed right here. This is where all your posts are going to show up, really similar to how Facebook does it. They also have a hashtag, if you can see, really small in the right corner of every post. So they've kind of combined the two, which is cool. And in the future, I'm sure that's going to just blow up. So they also have a similar thing to likes, but it's much more important in the SEO realm of things. They value +1s far more than they value likes in social media. So that's something to keep in mind as well. There's +1s are also called recommendations, and then there's shares, which are similar to a retweet or share on Facebook. So it's basically just showing it to your own followers. So +1s are really important. It's good stuff to remember. All right, so let's talk about how you should be posting. Basically, you just need to remember completely and totally that you represent a business. So you're not representing yourself. You are the face of the business when you are posting on social media. So, make sure you have an appropriate tone. And I like to say that you want to interact on social like you would at a networking event. So you are, your business professional, you're in your khakis, your polo, your tie, what have you. But you're talking to people. You're asking them how their day is. You're having a conversational tone. So in the balance of things, I think it's better to err on the side of being more professional than it is to be too casual, especially for something like self-storage where you want people to really trust your professional opinion on things. And it's just really important to make sure that you don't err on the side of being too casual because that can probably hurt you in the long run. And then also you want to make sure you're posting relevant material. And we'll talk a little bit about this. I'll show you some examples because it's hard to just visualize, what's appropriate, what's not, what's relevant. So let's show an example. And before we dive into who these people are, well, these people are two food places in my hometown. This one is a sandwich shop, Barnard's. It's really good. I grew up right next to it, and I ate it pretty much my whole life. And then the other one we're going to talk about is a donut shop that I also really love. So I went out on my own accord, and I liked both of these because I wanted to support them. Back to the percentages that we talked about earlier. So I've been getting posts from Barnard's, and these are two of their most recent ones. And this first one right here is about a Philly cheesesteak sandwich, which I didn't even know that they had. And I've been eating there my whole life. So that was pretty exciting, and I'm sure next time I'm in town I'm going to try this. So if you see, it was a little higher response when they talked about the sandwich, which is pretty good for their following, for the amount of people that are on there. And then also, looks like somebody went in and actually had the sandwich, which is awesome. That's what you want with social media. You want it to be effective. You want people to actually come in and rent from you and spend money. This is the whole point. In comparison, most of their posts are about random philosophical quotes, which is irrelevant to what they do. And people will like it because it's a family-owned restaurant, and I'm sure a lot of people that like the page are friends of the people that own it, and they think that's fun that they're on there, but it's not helping them in the long run. It's not really improving their ROI, so to speak, on their social media. So let's compare this with the donut hole. So the donut hole is a donut shop, of course, so obviously posting pictures of food is different than storage because you can't really post pictures that are super enticing of storage all the time that are new and fresh and exciting, but it's always good to be creative. They're really good about playing into the visual elements of Facebook as opposed to, maybe a picture of the Philly cheesesteak sandwich would have been awesome. And if you look, their response is way higher. Part of that is because they have like 3,000 likes, which is really huge for my hometown, and that's awesome. Part of this is because they're, posting about their product, they're posting really fun conversational posts, but at the same time, they're also engaging with community. Keep ICT weird is a funny Wichita saying, and obviously people thought that was really cool. There's actually a bigger response on that one than there was about their products. So that's just one of the things to remember when you're posting about storage is to be social, engage with your community. So that brings me to this. Recently, one of our business developers, some of you may even have talked to him, his name is Austin, and he just had a baby. And so one of the things that you want to remember when you're posting is if your employees are okay with it, to bring them in and brag on them and say, you know, this guy's employee of the month because they did this. And if it's okay with them, take a picture and tag them. You're going to increase your reach huge. If you see, we increased it to 509 people, which is really, really huge for us on the R&L side of things. And then also, if you're involved in a local charity or your community, or you just love, you know, the town that you're in, sometimes it's nice to just post about that. People are in your community that are liking the page, and so it's really good for them to see that you aren't just a megaphone. You know, you're engaging, you're being social, which is sort of the whole point of social media. So that's a really good thing to do. Also, some other stuff to keep in mind is that you want to think like a customer. So maybe people want to see video tours of the facility, and you don't have to post these every day, but you can have them as a resource for people to see. You can also post some moving tips, organization tips with a picture, some cool creative things that you could do in your house for organizing. People love that kind of stuff. And a huge resource for that is Pinterest. If you're trying to build up, you know, like a good database of that, Pinterest is a really good place to go and get pictures and link back to them, of course, but to get ideas for that. And then also promotions and discounts. I wouldn't make this, I wouldn't be heavy on this, that's why I listed it last. But it is really good. People like to see, you know, that you're giving out promotions, and maybe this is the only way that they see your promotions. So that's important also. So some final thoughts on this. Social media is a great way to reach more people, and you're going to build your brand trust, of course, and then you can also have the opportunity to help your SEO depending on what platform you're on. That being said, it is better to have no social media than inactive accounts. So it goes back to brand trust, and it's just that, you know, if you see that people haven't posted in a year, and sometimes I have gone onto Facebook or Twitter and seen that somebody doesn't have anything going on and they haven't posted in a while, and maybe they don't even have a website. Well, I'm not going to drive over there and check it out because I'm going to assume that they're closed. So it is better to have nothing than something that isn't really going on. But that being said, also, it's not a huge commitment, and it shouldn't be. You shouldn't be, depending on how large your brand is, this is, of course, but per each account, you should only really spend about 30 minutes a few times a week on this, and that's maximum. You shouldn't be posting every day, every hour. It shouldn't take that much out of you. It's social media, it's fun, you know, you shouldn't spend too much time on it, basically. And if you are unable to focus on, you know, all three of these or more, try and find the best one that works for you, works for your customers. You know, if you're trying to just build up your community and, you have really good pictures and you really like to post about that, all your employees are on Facebook and they're gung-ho about it, Facebook's a really good place to go. If you have a website and you're trying to increase your SEO, Google Plus is a great place to be. Just consider that when you're trying to decide where to be. All right, go ahead and chat me your questions if you have any. I'll wait a second and let those come in, take a drink of water, and we can dive into those. Looks like we have a little bit of time left for that, so. Okay, here's one. What's a good way to kick off my social media's following? So a good way to do that is to start adding links and widgets to your website, and then adding, you know, even to your printed materials, saying follow us on Twitter for discounts, make sure you like us on Facebook for promotions, things like that. Just starting to make it full circle with all of your marketing materials. So that's a really good thing to do. And then small giveaways when you start is a really good way to increase that. I know Facebook just changed their contest rules, so you can, it's a little bit more lax, whereas before you had to have like a third-party app to do a Facebook contest. Now you can have people liking posts in order to be entered for a small giveaway, things like that. That's a really good way to look at just kicking off your following. I know it's really hard to go from 0 to 200 overnight, so it does take time, so be patient with it. Another way is just to get on there and follow people and be social and, you know, just say I'm out here, share it on your own personal page and say, hey, that'd be really great if you could just follow us. So let me look at some more questions. Okay, so here's one. What are your thoughts on paid promotions through Facebook and Twitter? So Twitter has paid promotions, and that's fairly new, and then Facebook has been pretty heavy on it for a while. And basically, it's more of a personal preference. I haven't really seen it do super well. And I mean, it just depends. It's okay if you want to go ahead and try and spend $50 on it. And just experiment with it and see what happens. For the most part, it's probably better to spend your marketing dollars in something like a smaller giveaway, maybe give away 3 months of free storage to a random person who liked to post, things like that. And it's good to go in and see, there's lots of really great blog posts out there about how to do Facebook contests and Twitter contests. Obviously, we just did one. And they're really easy to do, and they're cheap. I would recommend putting your money into something more like a giveaway, but it doesn't hurt to try it. Okay, let's see. I'm going to answer 2 more questions. This first one says, I have a lot of facilities that need social media. Is there a way to manage all of those? So if you don't have time to be posting live time, real time, there's this tool called Hootsuite that's free, up to about 5 accounts, I believe. And it's a really great tool for people to basically schedule posts ahead of time, and then you can also manage multiple accounts in one place. So that's a really cool tool. I would definitely recommend checking that out if you feel like you can't be posting during hours that people would be on Facebook, Twitter, Google+. So, all right, we have time for one more question. Okay, this question says, we're followed by a lot of competitors. Should we ever write for the industry, or is that bad for customers to see behind the scenes? I think it's really good to be transparent, and I wouldn't give away all of your secrets by any means, but it is good for people to see that you're a transparent business, and that you're open to showing customers, what goes on when they're not coming in and storing. And I know self-storage is different because there's not a whole lot of interaction between you and them, so that's really good for them to see how personable you are as a company and as your employees. That's a really good thing for them to see. So I would encourage you to not go too crazy with the behind the scenes stuff or post all of your marketing and trade secrets, but it's okay to be a little transparent, and I think people appreciate that. All right, that is all the time that we have. Thank you guys so much for taking part, and I will contact the winner of our Twitter contest personally, and we'll announce that also via Twitter. So thank you so much for being here, and we hope to see you next time. Thanks.